Hi, this is Alicia Bowling with Creative Laughter TV Beyond Logic podcast. Today, our guest is a psychic medium. She is part of the Power of Three. She's been featured on the Dr. Oz show. She was also on the cover of O magazine, Your Best Body, and she was featured in Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop.com as one of the best psychic mediums. She has a big personality and a bigger gift. It's my pleasure to welcome Bobbi Allison to the show. Hi, Bobbi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm really happy to have you. I find you fascinating in every way because your story is so heartfelt and so many people are going to relate to it. There's no doubt in my mind. So why don't you tell everybody what it was like growing up psychic? Because out of a lot of psychics, I know you were actually born psychic.
Yes. Well, first I want to say thank you for having me. And second, I want to say is that, yes, I've been psychic ever since I was a young child. But of course, when you're born with it, you don't really know you have it until people either make fun of you or they, wonder why you're so awkward in situations when you feel like you know what's going to happen, or you try to be mother hen and tell them to be careful, and you just know things and you share it with like people like, oh, well, that's not going to happen today because of this. And then people just look at you and then, with that awkward look, and it's not always inviting.
Right, especially as kids.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so why are they giving me the stare, or why are they excluding me from different things, and giving me that feeling? So is it being psychic or intuitive or whatever word you'd like to use, it's kind of hard because you're an empath, you're picking up their feelings, but you have your own feelings, and then you're picking up spirit when the mediumship comes in. So you have all these feelings going on at the same time. And sometimes it's really hard to find out who you are because you're picking up other people's stuff and then they're getting the vision and all that. So like knowing who's going to be absent from school, or what kid is going to do this before they do it. And, and then feeling the energies by you, which caused me to have severe panic attacks from the time I was young. It just went on and on. The list goes on and on of all the different things that happen to you, not only psychologically, but physically as well. And then you build a barrier between you and spirit by, different things that had happened to me. I was molested. I had all these things happen to me. So I put on the weight. It's almost like a protection to let's say, to encase yourself, or if you will, or your soul to not be, rattled anymore, So it's kind of like, the feeling, how do I say it? Like the feelings, they go out, but they come in at the same time. So it's kind of like a dyna door coming and going constantly through that door. And you never know sometimes how to shut it off. So it's, it racks your brain sometimes, and it makes you feel like, oh my goodness, am I depressed? Am I sad? Am I happy? So I'm picking up everybody's stuff. So as a child, it's so hard to differentiate between what's you, what's them, and what is this.
You know, the amazing thing you're talking about depression, so many of us think as depression as like very one dimensional. My kid doesn't have friends, or maybe they're overweight. They don't have friends because of that. And it's not always necessarily that. There's so many psychic kids out there that are dealing with this, and people don't really, that's not the first thing they think of. Oh, I have a psychic child. They think, oh,
No.
they're depressed. They need to go to the doctor. They need to get medication. They don't really see the bigger picture. So how did your parents deal with this? Did they know what was going on with you?
Well, I think I was always, to be quite honest with you, my mom and my family members are very psychic, and my mother used to dabble in this, and I was always very afraid of it. I never knew what attracted her to that. She would talk about it a little bit. I used to put my fingers in my ears and tell her not to talk about that. I don't like it. I didn't like it. But as I started getting older, she would describe to me what her visions were. And I heard that she went to like a tarot class, and then she explained to me what that was. And that's something I really wasn't interested in. But as a little girl, like I would see visions of, like, we lived at the bottom of a hill, and the cars would come down. As soon as it started raining out, they would constantly hit the tree on our property. And I would know about maybe 30 seconds to a minute before that was going to happen. So I'd run upstairs and scream to my mother, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I would put my head under my pillow, and then of course somebody would hit the tree. So
Wow.
like she knew that I had something, but because she had it, she didn't think it was any different for her children to have it. And I guess maybe mine came out in such a way that I always had anxiety. I had fears. I didn't like going certain places. I would like feel like I was going to pass out a lot of times in certain classes in the school. I hated fluorescent lighting. I would see visions. I would see energies, but I didn't know what it was because I really didn't have my mom to say, well, this is this and that's that. It was just like, don't worry, you'll be okay. Maybe she didn't recognize at that point that I was going to be a medium because maybe she didn't dabble too deep into it. But, it was quite frightening as a child to go through that because, I mean, you had everybody telling you you're crazy. I went to so many different doctors. They were like, you're fine, you're fine. And then one doctor said, you need a psychiatrist. So I even tried that. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go on this medication. That's not what's wrong with me, until I found meditation group. And then once I started raising my vibration, I started to feel freer. I started to feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm seeing more, I'm seeing clearly. And then, the remote vision started. I can see something like, not, like I'm standing in front of it actually. And in my mind, I'm really sitting on the couch, or I'm sitting, in a classroom, meditation classroom, or anywhere. And I could be remote viewing, and I could go to the place of the location. Like when I do cold click cases, I could describe exactly where I am, what I'm seeing. I don't really know where I am, but they know it. Like the detectives that I sit down with, they know the location that I'm at. And I actually got to experience that one time. I was working on a cold case, and I did this whole reading off of one name, and I got this whole vision, and I actually was allowed to go to the location, and I lost it. I cried so much because I was like, oh my goodness, I've always seen visions of places, but you never really get to go to that location. So we drove down, it was like, I don't know, like a half hour away from where we were. We drove down the road, and when I saw the tunnel and I saw everything in my mind, and we were actually standing right in front of it. And I started crying hysterical because it was so surreal to me. Because when you get the visions, it's like, they're fleeting thoughts and they fly at you. And, you don't know what you're really describing. You're just in the moment. And to actually see it was really, really cool. So that's another one of my gifts. So imagine as a child sitting in school, and you're getting spirit that's trying to wake up your energy and say, talk to me. But I didn't know what it was. It just felt like major anxiety. And I would always run down to the nurse, and she would say, go lay down. And they would call my mother, and I was absent from school like 75 times one time. And they kept saying, well, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. Maybe you're having a flashback of this. They just never knew what it was. So all these things now make sense as an adult. And I really hope that, parents of children that are psychic or intuitive or empaths will really, really look at their children in a different way, really see it through different eyes, and really read up about spirituality and about how this works. Because more oftentimes than not, these children are not sick, they're psychic. And it's really disheartening that some people don't want to open up that particular door and walk through it and say, you know what, there's something more to this. Energy is energy. Spirit lives on. And, maybe this is, a message from the other side, that we have this child that's able to see visions or to feel other people's energy. And that's really, really what I hope for in the future with children and such.
Well, in school, I know you felt alienated a lot, but was there like one really kind person, like in the movie Wonder, like the one person, the one boy came up and made sure he had a friend. Was there somebody compassionate, understanding, and got you in school?
Yes, I'm still friends with her today. My girlfriend, Julie, she was always very kind to me. We clicked. We just had this whole simpatico thing going on. She was always very kind to me and nice. But yet again, she was the one that wanted to leave me home when we were friends for more than 5 years, because she'd be like, oh my God, mother hen, here she goes. Here she goes. What? We're leaving her home. She's psycho. Here she goes. She's telling me this. Because I would always warn them, like, don't do this, because if you do that, this is going to happen. That's not good. And of course, because she was adventurous and, and such, she wouldn't listen. And these things would happen. And then she'd be like, you know what? We're leaving you home. You're not coming with us anymore. And I'd be like, go screw yourself. So we had like little fights like that, but we're still friends today. And, she actually finally got to come and see me read a couple years ago. And I can't tell you how many times in the crowd she stood up and she was like, oh my God, is this the torture that you had to put me through our whole lives? This is what you do? Like it never clicked with her because I'm not an intuitive medium to her. I'm just Bobbi from the block, if you will.
Bobbi from the block.
Yeah. And she was just like crying and she was like, oh my God. And then I was talking to a spirit and I'm like, you don't want me to break out in song? And she goes, no, you don't. So she was talking with them. So she found it very cool. And she actually said to me, oh my goodness, I can't believe I waited all these years to come in to see you read and to understand what you were really about, that part of you. Because we all have different parts to ourselves. And sometimes I tell people this in my office all the time when they come and read with me. I say, everybody has gifts, just not everybody opens all their packages. We all have intuitive gifts. We all have different parts of ourselves. If we choose to let them out, then it's more of a gift to us because we'll be able to help more people and bring, solace to people who may be, thinking that they're psychological or crazy, whatever you want to call it or whatever they call it. And it's really, really helpful. The main thing that I would suggest to people and children is to meditate, because when you quiet the mind and you find out that connection that's so special with your higher self and know who you are, that's all that matters. When you find out who you are, who your true self is and your highest soul, that's when everything will click for you. Life is a puzzle, and all the puzzle pieces are all over the floor, laying on the side of you, and they're upside down. You can't see the pictures. But as you meditate and you connect to that higher place and that higher elevation, those puzzle pieces slowly turn over and it forms a picture, and you're able to pick those pieces up off the floor, put it on the table, and put them into each other where they fit. And it makes up you, your soul, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And it allows you to feel comfort, peace, and love, to say, oh my goodness, this is who I am. I'm not going to listen to that person and to that doctor and to that parent or this person. This is who I am. And where each one of us is unique. And we all have different abilities, whether they be physical, spiritual, mental, whatever it may be. But we have to find that truth in ourselves and live your truth and your purpose. And when you do that, that's when you'll feel the most at peace.
I like that. That's true. I believe that too. Well, I know you grew up, well, you kind of came up in the business with Kim Russo and Laura Lynn Jackson, and you formed the Power of Three because three heads are better than one. Tell everybody about that.
Well, Kim Russo and Laura Lynn Jackson, we've all been friends for many, many years. We formed the Power of Three because I was constantly saying to them, let's get on the stage together. Let's go out and heal people. Let's teach people spirituality and, let's do this. So we did. And we found that people are excited to learn this. People want to embrace who they are. They want to enlighten themselves. And so we go around from town to town or different states, and we put on an all-day event, and some of it's teaching and learn, Q&A and such. And we do readings as well. And we just really want to bring enlightenment to people and empower them to say, who are you? Live your truth. That's really what it's about. And love is the answer for all. And I also like to bring in there is that spirit will come through and give validation because they want you to believe in all of the stuff that they talk about. And the way that people believe that is to give them evidential information. That's what they want. So if you bring spirit to them, there's got to be some bits of information that fits with them, something they shared with that particular spirit that nobody could have known, hitting on names, situations, ages, birth dates, whatnot. That's not really what it's about, but it's about the evidential information that makes them believe in love and life or energy forms go on. So I try to tell people it's not really about that information. It's about the connection of love. And that's what it is. And I actually had an experience of what it's like on the other side. When I went to a healer to get healed for something, you go for one thing. First of all, they give you what you need, not what you want. And
That's so true.
it is. And I went in to get healing for some personal medical situation that I had. And when I went in there, I felt like wings came down and put those arms around me and lifted me out of my body. But I didn't know once I wouldn't say it was a bright light. It was more like a powder blue, grayish. And I knew that I was in this serene, harmonious place. I don't know how to describe it. There are no words, but love wouldn't really be the right word, because this place it was like a billion times more than that. And I didn't know that I had a body at that point. I just knew I was communicating with an energy, and I felt the love, and I felt at home, and I felt peace. I didn't know that I was Bobbi. And when they kept saying to me, okay, now you have to go back into your body, I was like, what are you talking about? So I didn't know I had a daughter. I didn't know I was Bobbi. I didn't know what a physical world meant, because I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And they said, you're not done yet. You needed to get this done. So you need to go back, and you'll know why. So I remember then being thrust back into my body, and back in the body, I was hysterical crying. And the woman said to me, you've been crying for 45 minutes, hysterical, like gut-wrenching tears. So I had so much that I had built up over the years. I was molested by 3 people. I was homeless. I grew up with not the best life, but I think that's because of who I am now. And I'm grateful for what I went through. It was a really horrific childhood at times. And I think, like, if you ask some of the siblings in the family, they may have their different versions. But since I was the oldest, I knew more, and I knew, what was going on versus what they thought was going on or saw what was going on. So being in those positions and feeling things on a very deep level, I tell people too, I'm not a surface swimmer. I'm a deep sea diver. So my emotions go so deep, and I get so hurt so deep. It's on a very, very deep level. So for me to heal, it takes so much time and energy. And I really have to, I'm still working on it. Healing is an everyday battle for me, whether it be one subject over another.
Wow, that's nice. You are on camera all the time, and it's got to be difficult with lights around you, all the people around you. Is it hard to hone in, or if spirit wants to talk about to a certain person, did that just happens? Or is there
Well,
something you have to do to kind of tune out everything that's going on around you?
Well, when you have that good relationship with your guides, let me tell you something. They take over. But the ego, the physical part of me, and my ego, who thinks that I'm less than when you're in front of a camera or you're in front of an audience, that's one of my biggest things that I work on every day to get over. You put me on the radio, I'm good. You put me in front of a camera and tell me to talk about myself, you won't get it out of me unless you interview me. It's a like a psychological thing, and I think that's the thing that I work on the most. But when I'm in front of the camera and I'm getting ready to read somebody, I just trust in spirit 150% that they're going to give me the words to say. So it's sort of like they plug in and I just go. I just go. I don't know how I do it. I can't really describe it to you other than I just know it. And I feel so passionate and compassionate about the person that I'm sitting across and where they're telling me to go that I can't stop what they're saying. And if you tell me no, I'll tell you yes, because they're making me say that. I'm not one to be cocky or to judge any of my clients or anybody that I read. But if spirit tells me no, you say that again, I will then deliver the message. And I don't need validation back from that person, because it could be 5 minutes they can validate it, or it could be a week later, or it could be in 5 weeks. Who knows? But I know that spirit knows what they're talking about, and that person may not know it at that very moment, but they will know it. I do a lot of groups with hundreds of people at them, and I get emails a week later, 2 weeks later. Oh my goodness, I didn't understand what you were talking about, but I went back to the family, and this is what I've learned. And oh my goodness, everything that you said. And I try to tell people, yes, I'm a good listener and I'm a good medium because I've been doing it for so long, but please know that information is from spirit. It is not from me. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. I don't even know your name. So it's spirit that's taking the credit, or I also give the credit to them because they just want you to know that even though their physical body is no longer here, life continues and life goes on in full bodied in spirit and energy. And they will do everything in their power to get that information to you, to give you that piece of evidential information so that your heart can mend and you could be open to communication with them, whether it be through you and them or through a medium and them.
You know, you kind of remind me of the kid that has the stutter, but the minute they start singing, the stutter's gone.
Yeah.
So the visual thing and from the camera that starts off being insecure, the minute you speak your truth and spirit talks, then you shine. That's what it reminds me of. I just got this huge picture of it when you were talking. One of the things I want to address, which I find super duper funny, because you just said, I don't know you. So why would I do this or do that? But I can't even tell you how many times people say to me, oh, psychics Google you. They Google your information and they find out stuff about you. I'm like, oh, God, please. Could you verify that? Because let me tell you something. If you Googled me, you would find nothing on me other than the podcast and maybe me complimenting a plastic surgeon. So it's like, what do you think you're going to get?
Well, I've been validated, I should say, and certified by the Forever Family Foundation. And they put you in front of 4 to 5 people separately and they tape you. And you don't know who you're sitting with. You go from camera to camera. They don't interview. You interview the other side and you just give them, they don't say yes or no. You just got to keep giving them information. And then they count on everything that you got right. Well, that spirit said. So there are ways of testing people, but I don't know anybody. So I have people that I read all over the world because I was in my girlfriend's book, Laura Lynn Jackson, The Light Between Us. And, she sold her book in many countries. So I read people in Nigeria, the foothills of this, Australia, Alaska, Italy. I don't know who they are. They can give a fictitious name. I don't need anybody's name. I just do that to be kind and say, what's your name? So when I'm talking to them, I can say, their first name. But I have many people that call for other people, make appointments. I don't even know their name until they sit down in front of me. And it's not about that because as mediums, we don't want to know anything. I don't want to be tarnished by anything. So if one of my siblings calls me and says, oh my God, my girlfriend has a question. She just wants to know. I go, don't tell me anything. Just give me their first name. I'll tune into the energy. Tell me the subject because, we can go down every road if we want to. And I will tune in and give you the information of what they're giving to me. And about 98% of the time, the subject's going to come right up and the information will be there. So I don't like to know anything when I'm going into a reading. That's even when I do the radio. I just take the callers, And it's funny because sometimes it's back-to-back information. I could be reading the first caller and the information could be for not only the first caller, but it could be for the 5th caller as well. And you get validation through email as well. They're saying, oh my goodness, everything you said to this woman was for me too, and such. So it not knowing is the beauty in it because we as human beings, we want to know, how does that happen? I can't tell you how many times I walk away from doing a big show, excuse me, with hundreds of people or a small home show. And I shake my head in the car and I go, oh my goodness, how the heck did I get that through? How did that information get through me? I felt like it's not that I go into a trance, but they plug in and they just go and they line up and the information just comes through. So to say that somebody Googled somebody that is crazy. Make up a fictitious name. I don't need your real name.
Right. It's a matter of politeness. Well, I know that Gwyneth Paltrow reached out to you for her Goop.com and looking for the best psychic mediums around the world, and you were chosen. Tell us about that experience, because that actually was very funny.
So I got contacted by one of her staff members, and they wanted to do like a test before they would put you on the list for the best of the best. So of course I agreed, and they set up a call. They don't tell you where, who, when, what, or anything. They just give you a time and they ask what number they can call. So I had a number and this guy called me from overseas and I started speaking with him and I didn't even really know his name. They didn't even give me his name, not that it mattered because I tuned into his energy. So as I'm reading him, the funniest signs were happening. The fire alarm started going off. He's like, oh my goodness, this doesn't happen. The fire alarm went off. The phone cut off, I think twice. He had to call me back. He really, he didn't really get it because I don't think he was looking for a reading. I think one of the staff members asked him to do this as a favor. So I don't think he was so open, but all the information that came through when the staff member listened back to the reading, she validated every single thing that came through and said to him, yeah, this is this is that. So he did have his brother that came through and everything his brother said. He did validate some of the things, but it was just funny how the phone kept going off. So I think his brother was playing tricks on him. He made this big, huge fire. The fire engines were going by. Then the fire alarm in the building he was in was going off. He's like, I don't know what's going on here. And I was like, that's spirit. So it was pretty funny. So I had thought like, oh, there's no way they're going to choose me. This was a horrible experience for him because he was like, all these things were happening and they wind up choosing me, which I'm very grateful. To be included in the goop.com. We're still on there, but I mean, it's in one of the articles and will remain on there for, forever. But it's pretty cool experience. Dr. Oz was a very cool experience as well. The Oprah thing was a dream come true. And there's lots of things that, I'm very grateful. And the more that you heal in life and the more that you love yourself unconditionally and the more that you live your truth, those validations of who you are will come out and come to you in ways that you would never expect. The love of self is so important. That's what I want to stress out there to everybody.
Well, Bobbi, but besides the nice things that have been happening to you, you have the biggest heart. And for people who don't know this about Bobbi, she gathers her psychic friends and she raises all this money for Ronald McDonald House, for Forever Foundation, Family Foundation. And one of my favorites is Beauty Ball. You have to tell people what Beauty Ball is because I get chills when I talk about it. This is one of the kindest, nicest things that you could possibly do for somebody in this position. So tell everybody about that.
Okay, so I'm only doing a part of it along with my friends. I gather everybody together and I always get everybody to join in. So the Beauty Ball was born about 2 years ago, but it still is Mondays at Racine. And a woman that owned a salon, she wound up of having a friend that had cancer. And so she opened up her salon so the woman didn't have to come in, during her cancer treatments and be in front of everybody. And, you have to get your head shaved and, eyebrows done. So she got like her people together and did this for her friend. And then she said, oh my goodness, maybe, we should do this for more women who have, cancer and open up the salons on Mondays just for cancer patients. So she decided to open up this nonprofit organization. And across Long Island, she's getting so many salons to open up their doors on Mondays and to have specialists come in to teach these women how to shave their heads properly and how to draw on their eyebrows. And then that they have wigs and the hair pieces and some of them they have the tattooing for the breast area if they choose not to have the implants. So there's all different things. So my manager and girlfriend, Beverly Fortune, came up with, well, instead of doing like a fundraiser for women with cancer, why don't we call it the Beauty Ball? So at the Crest Hollow Country Club for the last 2 years, they put on what a show. There's the runway. They have all the ladies there with the eyelashes. They've got food galore. They have every event of jewelry, and all my friends go and they read. They have psychic hour. They have dancing. It's just a beautiful event. Everybody comes decked out, dressed up. They raise so much money for these women. And it's just a beautiful thing. They have to band together. You have to love one another and do things for people to show that you have compassion and love and peace. And that's what I believe it is. And if I could teach that to just one person, I think that I'd feel so much better. But I think I think that, it is what it is, I guess. And you follow your heart and you follow, the path that you may have chosen before we came into this life. And if everybody gets it, they get it. If they don't, I try not to judge the people that don't want to be involved. And it's really not many of them, but some people just like they maybe, want to do things on their own. And I understand that. But the beauty in all of these fundraisers is showing the world that, we are who we are. We're truthful. We're compassionate. We're not these people just on the side of the road trying to make a buck off of, people's feelings that have lost loved ones. We lose people too. And we have each other to go to. And showing our compassion and our giving our energy and our time to these fundraisers. We don't take a dime. We don't even see the money that goes directly to them. That's all set up by, those events and such. And it's just a beautiful feeling. And I'm so happy to be part of all of it.
Well, I'd like to thank you, a big thank you for being on the show because I adore you. I think you have the biggest heart, and I look forward to interviewing you again soon.
Thank you.
So if you want to check Bobbi out, go to her website, www.bobbiallison.com, book a reading because it's a fantastic experience. And don't forget to go on our website, check out our Psychics of the Month and our group sessions. And remember, you create your life, you create your future. This is Alicia Bowling with Beyond Logic.